Hey everybody, I'm David with Bolivar Live. Well, we're back again for more history on the Bolivar Lighthouse. Like I said last week, this is going to be a 4-part series, and we're going to wrap up the history today on the lighthouse, and then the next 2 shows will be all about the foundation and where they stand and what their plans are. So, Amy, we've gotten through up to the rebuild of the houses. But we've still got storms and fires to go. Let's hear it.
We do. So the 1917 storm, we made it to the 1900, the 1950, and the 1917. The lighthouse was accidentally shelled by Fort San Jacinto on the east end of Galveston. Nobody was injured, and again, the lighthouse survived, and we've got some incredible pictures, but I have to read this because this is so interesting. This is out of the Houston Post, and what it says is, through some miscalculation, Bolivar Peninsula in the vicinity of the lighthouse was subjected to bombardment by 3-inch guns during target practice for about 2 hours. One projectile tore a hole in the iron exterior, while another landed a few feet from the front gate of the keeper's house. Again, no one was injured. I cannot even imagine. I've read some follow-up articles where allegedly they thought the gunpowder was old and potency was not there, and they didn't dream, allegedly, that these were getting shot, clearing the channel and ending over here. So I can't imagine what that must have been like to think if this was happening for 2 hours.
Especially if you just rolled out of bed and you're drinking your first cup of coffee on the front deck, and here come shells that tear into the lighthouse.
Can you imagine? So I will say is today, there's still a patch inside where you can see where one of the projectiles tore a hole through, and we have a picture of one of the keepers, and he's standing there, and you can see, like with an arrow pointing, this is where this went in and pierced the lighthouse. So then you have so we've got hurricanes, you've got shelling, and then when we moved to Galveston last year, our orthodontist said, you know what, my husband's aunt has a connection to the lighthouse. And she was 4 years old, living in Port Bolivar, when the 1943 hurricane hit.
And no one talks about that.
No one talks about it. And so I immediately went on and started Googling. I'm like, what storm is this? Well, it was during World War II, so the information was censored. So by the time the information came about the storm, it was really too late. It said that there were 2 ships that capsized offshore, which was interesting, and I've talked to Frank Billingsley, meteorologist, about this storm. This was the first time they flew aircraft reconnaissance through a hurricane.
Oh, really?
And they said it would have been a Cat 2 if it was measured on the scale. But she said that the National Guard came and picked her up. She was living back here in Port Bolivar. The National Guard came and picked up she and her family and brought them to the lighthouse. And she emails that the noises and the sounds were so eerie, they kept having to go up in the lighthouse further, because of the water coming in. But she said, I'm forever grateful because that lighthouse saved herself and her family. So really incredible. So to take it back, hurricanes and friendly fire, in 1930, the lighthouse commissioner recommended discontinuing the Bolivar Point Lighthouse. There was a lot of public outcry. I've read some articles in the Galveston Daily News where there was a gentleman that went on saying, you just can't do this. This means so much to Peninsula and Galveston. Like you just can't. The history, and there's a lot of public outcry, but the effects of the Depression, and actually the Galveston South Jetty Lighthouse had been built, and they had increased the power wattage on the Galveston South Jetty Lighthouse. The Iron Tower went dark on May 29th of 1933. And at that point, the third order Fresnel lens that had been in service from 1907 to 1933, which was actually a 52,000 candle power beacon, which was guiding the ships in safely into the Gulf of Mexico, from the Gulf of Mexico into the port of Galveston. And they said that 8 rays of light were produced every 15 seconds as the lamp slowly revolved. So at this point, the Fresnel lens was taken to the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C.
You've seen it?
Sure have.
And I've seen it.
Yes, you have.
Because I was up there on a job, and we went by there and didn't even know it was there. And we came across it, and this was years and years ago. And so it's pretty neat.
It is incredibly neat. And David, it's a funny story. The first time that I went to the Smithsonian, I walked in the lobby doors. So it's in the American History Smithsonian, and it's back in the Maritime exhibit. But the first time that I ever walked in the door, it was literally in the lobby. I mean, it was like chariots of fire. I took off running. I was taking pictures. I couldn't get over this. I was taking pictures of placards and the history. And then years later, I went back and it was not there. And I panicked. And I said, you don't understand. There's this Brunel lens. It was here in the lobby. Where did it go? And I think the man thought I was crazy. And he said, well, ma'am, it's back in the Maritime exhibit where it's supposed to be. So I will say this, the Smithsonian is aware of our project and what we're doing, and that we would love to have it loaned back to us. We will see how that goes. But it really is. It's majestic. It's beautiful. For those of y'all that go over to Galveston, the Galveston County Courthouse, the sister lens is over there. So very similar, being this third order. It is absolutely beautiful. The prisms, the beehive shape, it really is a magical lens. So at that point, I went to the Smithsonian.
And there's a lot of science in those lenses, because when you look at it like, okay, really? But there's a lot of science the way the refraction happens.
It is, and the way it's cut with the prisms. I mean, it really is. It's a complete. It's a work of art.
Mm-hmm.
It really is incredible. So I encourage you, if you're in the area, go over to the Galveston County Museum and go over to the courthouse and take a close look, because it really is, like you said, it's a work of art.
I see it once a year when I go to get my tags for my vehicle. So.
Yeah, it's great. So, at that point, David, then the property set is government. I mean, it's sat here.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of burglaries, you can imagine, people breaking in, climbing to the light. There's stories that people threw bricks down to the top of the homes. And it was just really in disrepair. The property just, it was not happy times. There was just,
right.
It was desolate and vacated. And then in 1947, as part of the government and auctioning off property, they decided to auction this property off. And what's really neat is I found from my grandmother's scrapbook the actual article from the newspaper saying that the property is going up for auction. Like the times, the dates, the specification, how many acres, what's included. And so, which is really cool to have that out of the newspaper. So at that point, the land, the property went up for auction. My great uncle was an Aggie. He was a civil engineering major, and he knew how well built these homes were. And he and my grandmother came down and he got it in the auction from the government back in 1947.
And the rest is history.
Mm-hmm. The rest is history. I will say this, after that happened, then there was the 1947 blast.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been said that that blast blew out the windows and melted the paint off the side of the homes.
I know was it your dad that I interviewed?
Uncle Lloyd.
Uncle Lloyd. During our interviews, they were talking about some of the coming in and redoing the houses and painting them, and right after that is when the blast in Texas City happened, and he was talking about burning the paint, bubbling the paint, and blowing the windows out, and they just put new windows and redone everything.
Mm-hmm. It was lots of tears.
Yeah, yeah. But that blast also blew an anchor from one of the ships, he was telling me. I forget how many miles. And so it was, and even when they had the explosion over there, I can't remember when, in 90s, we were guiding over there and they had a problem over there and we were actually fishing. But anything else you want to do to wrap this up as far as the history? I know every time you get out, you meet more people that have ties to the lighthouse.
Which is just incredible. What's really neat is we actually have found the great grandson of J.P. Brooks, who's a singer-songwriter in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And he's written a song called Candle on the Shore.
About the lighthouse.
Yes, and it's about the 1915 storm. So I encourage you to YouTube this song, Candle on the Shore, by Justin Brooks. It'll give you goosebumps. It really is a moving song. It talks about it swaying like a giant reed in the night. And you just kind of get that ominous feeling of just what it must have been like. So it's been neat to just get connected with them. And, in 1970, My Sweet Charlie was filmed here.
Yeah.
With Patty Duke and Al Freeman Jr. And Universal Studios had contacted my aunt, and she was so excited because apparently she was excited that the house was going to get a remodel and a fresh look and all this stuff. And they showed up and said, we like the house just the way it is, and not one thing was changed. And what's also really cool, in my grandmother's scrapbook, we have found the insert out of the newspaper talking about the filming of My Sweet Charlie, and we've got pictures of Patty Duke on the ferry boat coming across, and Al Freeman Jr. and the trailers on the property, and apparently he'd go sit and drink beer in her trailer at night. And it's really funny. He describes the experience, and he describes her. It sounds like he might have had a crush on her. He described the whole experience as groovy.
Groovy.
That was his word for filming here on the Peninsula. So that's another movie that you can look up and you can see, which is quite an incredible movie. And Patty Duke won an Emmy Award for that performance in that movie.
If people want to look up, get information on the lighthouse, let's talk about your website, how they can get to it, and the information you have on there.
Absolutely. So www.bolivarlighthouse.org is our website. You can certainly go there. You can see a little bit more about the history. You can see some of the fundraisers, the things we're doing, pictures from the past. We have some pictures from the National Archives. So you can see what the lighthouse looked with the black and white day marks, which is really incredible. And just how you can give, how you can donate, and how you can help support the 501c3 nonprofit in the efforts to restore her back to her former glory and beauty.
Great, great. You know, when I had my 60th birthday this year, as a fundraiser, we donated, I asked people to donate $60 since I was turning 60 to the lighthouse. And I imagine we'll do that again. But this is a great way for you to get involved. And I'm asking you, as myself, get involved, because I've always said it's an icon of beauty, whether you're coming on the peninsula or you're leaving from vacation. It's a welcome mat or it's a farewell goodbye. And so we want to make sure this icon of beauty stands. Now, we have 2 more shows coming up where we're going to talk about the foundation and more on what the foundation's plans are and how you can get involved more, maybe through some of the events they have. So Amy, thanks for joining us today. We're going to head on out. We'll see you next week with more information on the Bolivar Lighthouse. Until next time, I'm David with Bolivar Live. Y'all have a great day, great week. Come see us. God bless, and bye-bye. The Big Store, located at 2385 Highway 87 in Crystal Beach, Texas, on Bolivar Peninsula. If you're on Bolivar Peninsula and you need anything, stop by the Big Store, where you'll be greeted by a staff of smiling faces and a staff that's eager to help you find what you're looking for. The Big Store is a fully stocked grocery store with fresh fruits and vegetables, meat department with hand-cut steaks, canned goods, dairy products, frozen foods, and beer and wine. The Big Store is also home to a gift shop, camping and fishing supplies, RV supplies, tools and hardware, and home goods, all under one roof. The Bolivar Peninsula Superstore, like they say, if the Big Store doesn't have it, chances are you really don't need it. For more information on the Big Store and their weekly sales ad, please visit www.thebigstore.us.